Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm just doing a random project and you will probably recognize the project. It is the vessel and it's the version that Sarah did. So I've just been so busy with everything and lots of other projects, and I thought I just haven't had a chance to make that vessel. So this morning I said to my husband, I'm going to just do a random project. I just need to get this vessel out of my mind and just have a go at it, because I've never tried it with all the pleats and things like that. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll link Sarah's first video, because that gives you a really good rundown of how to put the project together. So I cut my circle, which I used a dessert bowl. Now my dessert bowl was only 7 inches. Sarah's was 9. So that was the first thing. I was like, oh, it's going to be a bit smaller, might be a bit slopier. We'll see how we go. So as Sarah did, she had a piece of calico, she had a piece of wadding, and then another piece of fabric. And I found this vintage quilt. So it's already machine stitched, this little piece I had. So I created my circle, and as Sarah shows us, she folded it in half, marked it, folded it this way, marked it, then started doing it again to get 8 sections, and then pleated it. Sarah did it by hand. I decided, I don't have all day or weekend. I'll only got a few hours, so I pulled out the sewing machine. So I've stitched the pleats in. It's a little bit puckered down there, but I think that'll be all right. The wadding, I actually did the same thing, but I chopped out the excess. So, and I even trimmed this just to get rid of a bit of a bulk, because it's already got a wadding. So the grand plan was that would be the bowl like that, and then I created the calico, which would go in there. And after all of that, I thought, I don't know if I need the calico, because it seemed to be, building up strength, and I'm yet to put all my bits and pieces on. So the calico I'm not using, and it's mainly because there's 2 pieces of fabric here and wadding already in this piece of old quilt. So that's where I'm at. So I thought I'll turn the camera on now, because we've got all that boring stuff out of the way. And I've just been rummaging, looking for bits and pieces. I really felt like colour. So I've decided to go hunting through all of my little bits and bobs. I have a feeling my bowl is actually going to sit like a clamshell. I don't know if it's got enough of a base, to be honest. It'll probably settle down once I get, it all stitched and becomes a bowl. But yeah, I think it'll work. So that's where I'm at. So hello to everyone. If anyone's new, I'm doing this as part of the Roxy Creations Sisters combination. Yeah, we've been stitching along with a prompt per month, and we did our vessels and sort of been exploring, oh gosh, there's so many different ways you can approach a vessel. And the little bowl technique was just in the back of my mind, and I thought, I'm just going to do it. Not sure when you'll be watching this video. I've just sort of got it wherever there's a gap, slide it in for a bit of change of direction. So yeah, I mustn't forget to link Sarah's video below, just in case you're a newbie. So newbies, I just do a little sneaky knot there whenever I'm using real fine threads, because I don't want to spend all day rethreading my needle. So it's just one turn of the start of a knot, basically, like you're tying your shoelace, that very first bit, then you create the ears. That's the best way to describe it. So yeah, that's all I'm doing. So I thought I'll jump in and say good day, and today's project is going to be just making myself a little fabric bowl, and I just want it to be a splash of colour, celebrating all of the hard work that has gone before me in creating beautiful doilies. Having said that, looking at all of this so far, it is machine made, probably in China. I don't think any of this is made by gentle hands. So, but we're saving them from landfill. Gosh, there must be heaps out there. So it's so good that we can, you know, grab them and add them to our projects. I was sort of a little bit inspired too by Pam from, I was just watching her video. Let me grab her exact channel name, Pandora's Junk Journals. Pam's always doing these heavily collaged, beautiful pieces. And if anything, I'm probably a little bit refrained. So I thought, right, I'm going to think about Pam and I'm going to Pam it. So Sarah's my inspiration and Pam is the frosting on top, if you will. So hello girls, if you are watching. You two are absolutely amazing. Sarah, I don't know how you do it all. You are a busy girl educating young men, young lads to become young men. Oh, you're awesome. And Pam, my goodness, you are an absolute angel. What can I say? You're so generous with your time. And from what I can understand, having watched you for a little while, you are very generous with your time within your community too, which is just lovely. So there you go. I'm just having a moment, just saying hello and acknowledging some great ladies within our stitching community. Inspiration. So we're going to Pam it. I've started a new phrase. We're going to Pam it. Just when I think it's done, we're going to keep going. So that's the Pam theory. So lots of little bits. I'm just going to take my time. I just didn't feel like picking up any of my major projects that I'm sort of rolling through. And I thought, if I don't do this little vessel sooner rather than later, you know, it just slips into the abyss. There's so many projects like that. You go, oh, I must do that. I must do that. And yeah, slips away. I've got a couple tote patterns and bag patterns too. They're sort of on my hit list that I just want to get and stitch them. So at the moment I'm just using invisible stitch. My theory is get down all of the backgrounds to see then what's actually left to come back and do some additional stitching. Otherwise I'll end up doing lots and lots of running stitch around pieces. Like look, it's here threaded. I nearly picked up that needle and thread, there's the cotton, to start running stitching through this guy. And I was like, no, think about Pam, keep collaging, keep adding bits and pieces. So that's what I'm doing. Just filling in where I can the gaps, overlapping and filling in. There we go. That one fits there nicely. So before I turn the camera on, I've got like a pile of little doilies beside me that I've got some random bits cut out. I've got crocheted doilies here. I don't even think I'll be going towards them, but because I want the inside of the bowl just to explode with colour. Whether I bring some crocheted elements on the outside, possibly, but I do love that fabric. Look how puckered that is. Goodness me. That's why I'm loving hand sewing, because you get on the sewing machine and that little engine gets going and zoom, you think you're covered and you think you're right, and then you finish that row of stitching and you find you've puckered it or it's bent, or you've stitched your sleeve to it. It's best I stay away from engines, would seem. Where with hand sewing, it just, I don't know, it just slows the girl down so she can think about, you know, the placement of things, and yeah, much better. So yeah, that's the project for today, just sitting and stitching. Like I said, I don't know when you'll be watching this. It is just about the end of July. So I have a feeling it might be well and truly into August, and we're probably well and truly on the journey of the journals, the field notes journal. So I must say, as I was ratting through my supplies here to see what I could find, I think that should have come down. I'm going to need to trim that. Oh, don't be precious. Let it go. Yeah, I was flicking a few pieces. I'm like, oh, look at that. That'd be all right in my journal. That'd be all right in my journal. So I don't know, because I'm ahead of the project filming. No, behind. Yeah, you're watching it prior to any of us starting the Field Notes journal. So goodness knows what you saw yesterday or tomorrow. So I do apologise if you're sitting there confused. I should not talk about potential future projects when I'm filming a video that could slide into a future, because then it just confuses people. Can't help it. That's what's in my mind at the moment, planning for those Field Note journals. So, gosh, it could even be September before you see the video. Who knows? It's just a little bit. I nearly wasn't going to film it because I thought, no, it's just a day for me to stitch. And I thought, oh, I'll just do it. Otherwise, I'm sitting here in silence where I could be sitting here yapping to you guys, even though you can't reply. Okay, that's just split apart there. So I'm going to need something else there. This is cross-stitched onto soft Aida cloth. So it's got the potential of being quite fray-like. So it'll definitely need some bits. I was going to put some scrappy bits of fabric in here as well, but it's such a small surface. I just don't think I'll get the space, the surface area, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I might just scoot through the centre of that little cross stitch. It probably will end up so dense with colour that you won't notice half of these details, but that's okay. That's the Pam. It gets really dense and luscious and beautiful. Okay, so what could we put? There was a little piece that I cut off. See this little guy? He was, where was he? I think he was coming up the side of the bowl here, so I cut him off. So we have to find a home for this little one. Pop him in there. Pop him there. Yeah. Don't overthink it. Another little sneaky knot so we don't become unthreaded. It's a game changer. Learnt that at a Fleur Woods course, and Fleur showed us because we were doing a bit of a beading demonstration, and she actually learnt it the lesson prior with another group of ladies, and she was doing her beading demonstration. I think this is how it went, the story. And one of the ladies said, oh, Fleur, why don't you try a little knot, and then you needle and thread her together, and you can then just concentrate on threading beads. And Fleur was like a light bulb came on, and then as she told us the story, we're all standing there going, oh, that's genius. Here comes the fudge. Now I've got a little knot. Of course I have a little knot. Oh, come on. It's a great way to use up little scraps left from projects. Don't be giving me a little knot. This is a riveting viewing. Got him. Maybe this whole bowl will just be invisible stitch. There probably won't be much room left for stitching. Who knows? Hello, Fudge. What's happening? He's been sitting in the sun just near my door here. It's quite a cool day. It's a warm sun, but a cool day. So your air temperature's cool. And I just felt like a bit of fresh air. So I've opened the side door to my studio so that you can hear the bird. Well, I can hear the birds. I don't know if you guys can. And Fudge is just sort of sitting there. I think the dogs are not far as well, so, but they're napping. If they all were to realise they're all within a close vicinity to each other, there could be chaos. Chaos would ensue. This one here too, I'm thinking I could probably work this little guy in, but he just needs a little bit of bulk. Yeah, Fudgy. He's looking at himself in the mirror, meowing. He's learnt this little, is it a trick? I don't know, Fudge, if it's a trick. Of an evening, we'll sit on the couch, watch a movie after dinner, you know. So it's sort of our end of the day space. And he's realised that that's lap time. So he's decided when he wants to sit on the couch during the day, oh, that works pretty good, doesn't it? I'm not going to worry about all these edges yet. Just forget about that, girl, because I might even have to trim it back a little bit. So that's the theory. Just plonk it, stitch it. Yeah, Fudgy. Yeah, so the end of the day is Fudgy on the lap, watch a movie, end of the night. So the other day he was bellowing, carrying on like a pork chop, and I was in the other room. I think I was just about to start some housework or something, but I wasn't in the lounge. And he's carrying on like a pork chop. And I looked in there and he's standing on my chair, on the seat that I sit on the couch, meowing, looking at me. You have to say, sit down now. I want to get onto your lap. And I thought, well, how rude. Demanding little brown cat. So I was like, no, Fudge. There's no couch time. I've got chores to do. So he's like meowed a couple more times. He did change his tone. I don't know if that was grumbling. I don't know. I don't understand cat. And went back to his bed and slept for the rest of the day. I think he was trying it on personally. Clever little cat. So I probably won't come back with this bowl finished because, like I said, it's just a one-off video where I explore Sarah's technique and Pam's collaging, intense collaging. And but what I'll do is I'll have it on my desk, so yeah, you'll see it from time to time, I'm sure, pop in. It'll be good to put my threads in for the day when I'm setting up my homework for other projects. My sneaky knots come out. That's all right, I'm nearly out of thread, so it's nice stitching into this. It's fleece. Very thin fleece. I don't know where I got it from. I'm always picking up battings and base, what I call bases or inners to projects, batting, wadding, Whenever I see a little bundle of it somewhere, usually in a thrift store from someone who's been a quilter, anything like that, I just grab it because I know I'll use it. Always dipping into that cupboard. Here we go. This is going to be an explosion of colour. Don't think I'll add any yo-yos or anything like that. I might come back with some lace and put some bits in there. I'd love to do a white one. Like I had this out. I was looking at this, you know, but that's a whole nother bowl, I think. And then I settled on this piece of applique rose with the cross stitch, and that just opened up a whole can of worms. I was like, no, we're going to have a pop of colour, a bowl of colour, a bowl of flowers. Oh, there's a memory. The country show, and kids could enter into, you know, the flower section, the veggie section and things like that. So we were always wanting to enter into I never did sewing or anything like that. That's unusual, but being farmer's daughter, there was always flowers and vegetables. So we'd go to the Gameri show and enter all sorts of things. And I used to love doing the bowl of flowers. So you'd have a saucer, and it had to be a certain size little saucer, so teacup saucer, with a little bit of water in it, and arrange a selection of flowers, like exactly like this. And I used to love doing that. And I'd spend all morning harvesting my little blooms and then create a little display. And then, because we'd have to milk the cows and then race into town to deliver our entries to the country show, it was usually a speedy ride because we'd be just cut off to registration. So you'd have to have your entries in by a certain time. So we'd be hightailing it. And Mum only got her licence later in life because it was just not needed. We'd go everywhere as a group. And so Mum eventually said, oh, just need my licence. It was so much more efficient. So she got a licence, and but she was always a very cautious driver. And country roads, for those of you who live rural, it's different driving. You have to have your wits about you. It's not just set it in cruise control and you're on a highway. You're on narrow lane roads and you just need to be aware. So speeding, as in not hundreds of kilometres, you know, Mum never did that. But say it was 100, for her speeding was 90. And she'd have the white knuckles on the steering wheel and she'd be flooring it. She'd say, we're in a rush, we're going to floor it. And we'd be doing 90 in 100 zone. It was so cute. But being in the back seat with a bowl of flowers, you can imagine what's happened. So here's little Corrine holding her work of art. This is going to win first prize. Be 50 cents if I got first prize. That's a bag of lollies. And we'd be on this country road, bobbing along, swinging and swooshing, and the bowl's going like this. Actually, I don't think it was a teacup. I think it was a dessert bowl like that. So it'd be full of flowers and there'd be water in there. Yeah. So I'd be in the back. Mum, my flowers are going everywhere. Hang on to them, love. We're running late. We've got to get in there. And I'd have the back seat full of vegetables around me, and, you know, there might be a category of one rose. So I'd have a rose there and there'd be water slushing. It was just hilarious. And I remember the one time we were in a real hurry and the radio on and the Pointer Sisters were singing. And what's that song where it's really racy? Gosh, I hate it when we go blank. What's going on? I used to know all this stuff off the top of my head. Now, it's gone. Another thought's come in. Just a scatterbrain. But anyway, their song was really, really beaty. So Mum's driving and we were getting to 95 and she was white-knuckled and the Pointer Sisters were, you know, pacing us. And she had to turn the radio off because she said, they're making me go too fast, you know. It was so funny. It was a great song, and it was probably one I was following at the time, and yeah, you can imagine it. And the old Commodore or the old Kingswood, I just can't remember what we were in. I'd say it would have been a Commodore. Kingswoods were around when I was really little, but I was probably in junior high school. So it'd be the Kingswood, the Commodore. So, but we made it in time. Like, it's a country fair. If you're 10 minutes late, I don't think it's going to matter. I'd love to have taken Mum's blood pressure after the drive in. It was only 11k our farm from town. So 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So this little bowl is going to be to the memory of a bowl flower. Gosh, what they call it? A bowl of flowers. A dessert bowl of flowers. It had some little name that kids, at least you knew you had to get a dessert bowl. And yeah, I remember when I was given some Oasis by someone. The green foamy stuff that you can put water. Well, I thought I was a next level arranger then. Oh, gosh, that's pretty. That is definitely a bowl of flowers. Maybe it'll end up being, no, I don't see, it's reversible. I noticed that with Sarah's, that whatever takes your fancy. I have a feeling I will need to trim it, but maybe I won't. That is nestling okay. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Another little bit here. Where are you going to go? Plonk you in. Just rearrange it a little so maybe I can slip it between images, previous images, so it's not covering too much. No, it doesn't seem to want to fit there. I think it's going to fit there. And I'll bring it right up to that edge. There we go. Maybe I'll put a little pin in so it doesn't wriggle around. There we go. Like myself would just scoot ahead and just plonk, plonk, plonk. But I'm not going to. I'm going to just one piece at a time, see where it fits. If it covers something, that's okay. That's what Pam does. It's layers upon layers of yumminess. My bowl of flowers, dedication to a little girl sitting in the car with all of her entries to the country show. That's what this is. Isn't it good when you can come up with a memory or a feeling for a project? I think it just takes it to another level, personally. Remember when we were doing cross-stitch doilies like this? This one, I think, is somewhat... No. That's mass-produced, isn't it? I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's a gorgeous little morsel, and it is now in my bowl of flowers. Will I win first prize for my bowl of flowers? I remember too, after the show, because there were never many entries, so let's get that out there. The girl's not super creative with her entries and therefore scooped the pool. It was the fact there was hardly any entries, therefore she scooped the pool. There were times where I got first, second and third. But, and Dad grew the veggies, so really they were Dad's. You know, Mum would make a fruit cake or something like that for the cooking. I might make some cupcakes. She would do scones. So it was all sorts of entries. And then when we finished and went back to the actual show, because they judged the day before, so the next day would be the show. So you put on your Sunday best and then you went to the show. Sideshow Alley and all of the trimmings that come with that. The fairy floss, we call it, candy floss. Dagwood dog, Pluto pups, same thing, different names. Lots of sauce dribbling down your chin, then down onto your nice white little blouse. You can picture it, can't you? Just a little grot. The loudspeaker in the background as the show jumping and the riding of the bulls and barrel racing. Oh, yeah, the whole country show spectacular. Dust everywhere, dirty little shoes, sauce down your shirt. If you're lucky, you may have won a stuffed toy. Well, then you'd go to the pavilion to see how you went, didn't you? And then later that night, you'd have all of your little certificates or little cards on the fridge. First or second or a third, all lined up. You might have won, $4, $4 for the whole weekend. So much fun. The country shows are still going fairly strong, actually. It's so great to see. They still have the Gameri show. And it's part of a line of shows that you make your way to the big Brisbane show, the exhibition. So whether it's the queen of the show, like one of the young girls in the community is selected to represent our community at the Brisbane show. Not sure the exact name they call that now. Or you might have cattle and you might get champion of that show, which gives you points. So you get to the next show, and enough points get you to the exhibition. So you might be then overall champion, and that's great if you're a breeder of cattle. It just shows that your cattle of a certain standard. So it's like serious business, and it can really connect back to your business. So it's serious stuff. For those of you that don't know these things. Okay, so we need another little something, don't we? I reckon we need this little guy. He needs to come in here. Little blue tulip. Those little guys. Could even come in that way. It's fun working out where to place your little morsel. Yeah, I'm thinking along those lines, and then I could potentially put something here. Maybe I bring him right up to the edge. What if I have to trim the edge? Let's just have a look. Will it end up being trimmed? I don't think it will. I think that's actually going to be just fine. So I might come right to that edge with this little slush of blue. Nestle that down into that point. Okay, that's you. You've just found your home, little one. Little morsel. Maybe we'll jump ahead and put another little one in too. Let's have a look at this little guy. Give him a trim. No, don't trim it yet. It might work in elsewhere. Covering too much of that. There's not that many spots left. It's quite surprising how quickly this has actually filled up. Do I tuck him in? I know I have stitched a lot of this down, but do I tuck him in? No, keep doing the same thing, girl. Don't go and change the way you're approaching the project. I think that's not too bad. Gosh, you could fiddle with this. Or do I stay in this region and tuck him in here? I feel like he's got to go that way. if I cut that out a little bit, yeah, maybe I'm too big. And that's what's throwing me, is this little edge is just a little bit too wide, I'm thinking. Trim it down, get rid of the bulk. We've only got short, little small spots to fill, so yeah, that's better. So I might pin him as well. Get him right down there. Is that split there? So that'll help pin that down. There we go. That works. Now we're cooking. Oh, I'm feeling Pam here. I have to wonder if it'll be all invisible stitched. Don't know. Maybe there'll just be some overcast stitch around the edge of it and just, you know, a bowl of flowers. Okay. It's definitely getting some rigidity to it as well. Even that would be enough to hold itself, I'm thinking as well. So that's interesting. That's why I wanted to try the project too, because it's a great little activity if you're on holidays and you just go to an op shop and get some morsels of things, a bit of fabric, a few little doilies, you know, needle and thread, and away you go. Make a little bowl. Oh, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to do a quilter's knot, which I did, but it pulled through. So don't pull so hard. It's nice when you've got a little project when you're away, or even just a weekend at some friends, you know, just grab a mitt full of bits and bobs and make a bowl. They're always handy. There's always something you can put in them on our tables. Can never have enough storage vessels, whether it be large scale or down to small scale like this. I believe. How am I going for time? Like, I'm just stitching away here. Let me have a little look. There you go. Plenty of time. It's come together quite quick. I did tell you my circumference, didn't I? I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, because I think I was 7 inches and Sarah used a circle that was 9 inches. So hers would have been a little bit more, you know, open. Oh, I'm drifting off into memories. Oh my goodness, I tell you. It's so funny how things trigger memories. You'll still the show. If you're wondering, well, what's she thinking about? She's gone quiet. It's still the show. Just walking around this spectacular event, but that's through the eye of a child. Now you'd walk around and go, gee, the show's a bit lackluster. There's not much here, but as a kid, you know, it was just this big social event on the calendar as the country show. I thought it might be tricky to stitch down into the bowl, but it's actually like the surface I'm working, I can get quite flat. You know, I thought I might have my hands down, but it's not rigid, so you can turn out the side of the bowl to stitch quite easily, which is good. It's to be manipulated easily. You can hear some birds. It's so good when there's no wind. I can open up the door to my room. If the breeze was blowing, I just can't, because we're surrounded by sand for kilometres, like we're near the beach. And if I was to have a windy day, I would have a sand dune in here pretty quick. So it's best the house stays closed on such days, but today is as still as still. So opened it up, fresh air. My hounds are sitting just out there. Fudgy's sitting just beside me on the floor near the door. He's dozing. Yeah, invisible stitch. That's all I'm going to do at this stage. I'll be stunned if I come through and do overcast stitch on any of these pieces, to be honest. I like the softness of those edges. I like how it's just little morsels of embroidery, and let the fabric be the texture. I am trying to stay within a soft colour palette. I did pick up some pieces of embroidery that were on very hard cream backgrounds, and because I started with this white one, I thought, no, just that's as dark as I want to go. I want to keep it similar tone, so when the eye looks in there, it just looks like Corrine sitting on the back seat of the car, and in her little hands is a little bowl of flowers, hoping she's going to win $2 at the local fair so she could buy a bag of lollies. That's what I'm aiming for, Corrine's bowl of flowers. Let's do this little guy now. Let me know in the comments if you too was a little girl or a little boy. There's lads watching the show as well, husbands. Yeah, if you were one of those little kids. Oh, thread keeps pulling through. I'm going to change my thread. I'll put a picture of it completed on the thumbnail. That's what I'll do. There'll be a photo at the end of the video of it finished. And my guess is it'll just have a overcast stitch around the top rim. I don't think I'll do anything to this. I'm going to have to unpick that. It's bugging me. I don't know how I managed that. I don't think I'll do anything to that. I'll have to have a think about it. Whether I bring in some lacy bit. Oh, yeah. I think I'm going to have to put some lacy bits on it. You know how it is. There's a nod to, oh, here we go. You can see I can justify anything. That's a nod to all the crocheting that was at the local show. And my grandmother, the seamstress, was a judge in the district. I don't know if she ever did the Gameri show. She was more Kingaroy, Nanango, Wandai. She was sort of in a different council area. She did do the Toowoomba show occasionally, so she would judge all the fancy work, hand sewing type of categories. She used to take it so seriously too, which you should, because you're a judge. So she'd be invited and she'd get a free lunch. It wasn't a paid gig at all. A free lunch to come across and judge the fancy work, quilts and things like that, and crocheting. She never did baked goods. Don't think so. No, she was all the fine embroidery and things like that. Gosh, I wish she was still around and I was the age I was now and I could tag along. Oh, my dad now is often the judge of the vegetable department. He's got a couple invites in the last few years to go to a couple of the shows. I think it was the Wandai show and the Gameri show to judge the veggies and bales of hay and wheat and things like that. He loves that. Very privileged. I probably wouldn't be able to decide if it was me. I'd be like, how'd they do that? What's happened there? I'd be too busy investigating how they made it. Yeah, this invisible stitch I'm loving it because it's giving me that quilted look. You can see the little dots there. Is that flower covering anything? No, it's still good. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Just lots of invisible stitch to hold these little bits. I'll finish stitching this little blue tulip down. Then I might toddle off. It's pretty much filled. There's not a lot to fill, so you've seen the bulk of the project. I'll then nestle it into that little guy. I might poke my nose into my lacy morsels. See that? That's looking at me there. It might be too bulky. Stay focused, girl. Get your bowl of flowers sorted. And then I might actually use the lace to help tack it all together. That's what I'll do. So when this sits in there, I'll then do a few little lacy bits, and that stitching will come through to this side and help join it all. So that's the plan. But first I need to get my bowl of flowers sorted. Gosh, I hope I haven't come too high there and I need to trim that. I won't. I'll let it stick up in the air before I cut too close to that. That's the thing too. I could have lacy bits coming up past the bowl. Yeah. So the edge of, yeah, there'll be like just little bits poking up the edge. There you go. I'm off on another tangent. Haven't even finished this. Typical, you'll be saying. That's just so that girl. I might trim that back a bit. I'm covering that cute little flower. So before we do that, let's just nibble a little bit off of there. Yeah, that's better. Bit shame to cover him, even though he is a embroidery that is made on a sewing machine. That's the flower I used on the teacup project. Except the bigger ones. So I had a few of them spare that not even finishing my sentences now. So my sneaky knot's not allowing that to slide along. So in that case, I just trim that. I probably should have had the needle further along. Have I got a sneaky knot? No, I don't. There you go. So we might put a sneaky knot at the end here. Thinking, gee, that's a lot of wasted thread, girl. Why did you do your knot like that? Go. I think we're ready to roll. That should finish this little one. Maybe I can use that image there on the outside of the bowl. That'll give me the lace. I've got a few of these doilies that are identical. So I'm not worried that that gets chopped. They often pop up in the thrift stores around. Must have been a mass produced product once again. Okay, so that's my little blue rose slash tulip. I better put this thread. This was what I was going to do, overcast stitch on all those little morsels. I need to put that to one side so I don't waste it. This stage, not required. So there's my little bowl coming together. Couple more little spots to fill, and I'll probably creep into here a little bit, but it's nearly done. Need something there, something through there, but that'll all happen. Let's just, before I leave you and say goodbye, I just want to explore. I'll leave these on my table. I might be able to work them in. Put my ruler out of the way. I just want to have a look at what I could do with this. So I'm going to cut this little guy out. Let's just double check. Do we want him? Yeah, we do. So I'm going to cut this little fellow out. I love white work. So gorgeous. Go right up through here. Whether we need it to be that big, we'll soon see when it goes to the bowl. Because I could cut it through there to shorten it, but I'd rather give myself all of the goodies and then go, no, it's too big, cut it back. There's a little stain. I'll come in close to these flowers because I don't think those dots are doing anything great for the design. Bring it right into there. Okay, so now I've got lacy morsels to be added. Let's define the detail of the piece a little more by nibbling out those little bits. So now we can really see that there is a little leaf there and little petals by cutting out just a little bit more. You also don't want it to fray to bits too, but where's my bodgy sewing? There. Let's start by covering that. Just put it on a bit of an angle. I could take that down a little. No, I'll leave it for now like that and pin it. Maybe I'll just do a little collage. So I was pretty keen on working some of this trim in. So I might just disconnect it so I have this long piece of, look at the little stains everywhere. Oh, it's good to see someone use it. Look, it's broken there. See? No loss here. It's finding a new home. Little stains everywhere here. So now I've got myself a nice little lineal length of lace, and that, when I'm finished, I'll just pop that in my lacy bits. Okay, going to also rough cut out this little guy, get rid of that bulk of fabric. I have a feeling I might actually use it here. And I'm going to take it down smaller so that it looks a little different to that other one. Maybe these little guys could drop into there, but I don't know. There's probably not enough detail. I've got some vintage candle wicking pieces, you know, the days when you would get a simple design of, say, a big flower or something. You'd get yourself a base fabric like a calico or a muslin, and you would draw your design on, and then it'd be stitches like this and French knots to create the floral piece, and then you would do a heap of them and join them all into panels to go into quilts. And there were all these candle wicking books. Oh, gosh, I hope that's the right name. I think it is. I've got a few of those I came across at a garage sale, and I thought that in itself would just be a beautiful element. Just cut it. Now let's, so I wanted that pop of something. I just cut it there. There's a few stains on it. And then I might do a bit of a ruched effect. So it's a bit lumpy bumpy. Like that. Getting fancy now. Just a bit pleated, a bit squished. Rachel does that actually. She'll just sort of crumple it and then add it as an element, and it adds a lot of nice texture. So I'll do that. Got to have a bit of Rachel inspiration in amongst it. Then we'll bring that guy in. So we're making a feature just on one side, I think. Let's get another lump of this and squish it up. Tuck that in over there. Oh, yes. Love it. So we've got that little feature on the side of the bowl. And then from the inside, it'll be a floppy mess. Quite possibly. I might need to lower. I might hold. So there's a bit of starch in it from whoever had it. I might just need to lower that. But maybe it'll hold. Yeah, I'll have to experiment with that. See how it's flopping forward? If that's stitched right up to there, what does it do? Let's put a pin in just to see. So I don't want a floppy edge. I'd like it to look like there was a doily, like a lace tablecloth sitting underneath my bowl. So let's assume it's probably a little bit big. That's because it's got that soft center. So I might need to just drop it down a little bit to give it a little bit more support. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Pretend that's stitched. That one's pretty good. Pretend that one's stitched into there. There we go. Oh, if that's not Pam. There we go. So that whole little doily. So like I said, if you were out holidaying, you just pick up that one piece, that one little doily. I'll get all that stitched down. It can just create something. There we go. We've got like a little flourish of flowers. It covers my bodgy sewing. Inside's the bowl of flowers. Going to the show. Will I win? First prize. Then maybe some of these little pieces might be able to be stitched in here. See, that's now we're really getting to the Pam. That's got a little stain on it there, so let's get rid of that and just take this. What's the time? Well, tell you, doesn't it go fast? And just stitch some little bits in here. We'll see. I'm not convinced. Maybe if they're ruched. Yeah, I think they need that ruching to make them feel a little interesting. But we'll see. We will see. I love the fact that that's a little slush of, how do you describe it? I don't know. All right, guys. I'm going to toddle off, stitch all that down, stitch it all together, add some more bits before I do all of that. And at the end of this video will be a photo. I might take a photo of that so you see where it went. Yeah, Thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and it's just a random little project. I just had to get out of the system. All right, look after yourselves. Bye. Hello everyone, I'm back. I know I said goodbye, but I thought I'd come back and show you the finished bowl. But before I do, I just had to dig out that piece of candle wicking that I was talking about. That's the panel. I just remember seeing so many kits on pieces that were this size, and then they all went into quilts. So I've got this vintage piece that I've picked up, and it is all colonial knots, satin stitch, some feather stitch to build up the image. And from memory, every image was slightly different, and then they went into these beautiful white quilts. So a real classic white work look. I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see. It's so pretty, so much work. Oh my goodness. So I look forward to using that in something in the future. So here's my little bowl. I'm pretty pleased with it, actually, I must say. That was the little bowl that inspired it. I picked that up at a local craft market when Susanna was with, and it was just handy size. I usually use these little plastic containers that I've had for ages, and they usually have had Ferrero Rocher chocolates in them. So they're just a nice size to fill up with the threads. After I finish filming with you guys, I often collect what I'm going to need to do my homework in these little bowls. So I thought, well, I'm going to make myself another one. So I'll just pop that to one side. So here's my little bowl of flowers. So love it. Oh, it just feels like a little girl going with her posy to the country show. What did I do after I saw you guys? Oh, I added a little ruffle of lace here. This lace is attached to the bottom. So let's flip it around and we'll actually reverse it and get it seated. And there's the piece of white work. I didn't, white work on an old doily. I didn't actually change anything from where we were at with placing, just stitched it down. So I much prefer it this way. Love it. Probably could have made the base a little bit bigger, but I like how it's actually splayed out. So if the base was, out here and wider, I might not have got that nice, bowl-like. It feels like those dessert bowls where there's decorative artwork around the rim of it. It seems to naturally want to sit a little bit fluted like that. Really like it. I end up doing a little bit of stitching around the outer edge, bit of blanket stitch. That's the Pam, the nod to Pam. Just adding that little bit extra pop of colour. There you go. One little bowl. I love it. Absolutely love it. So there you go. All right, I'm going to say goodbye and pop something in my little bowl. I'll have to go and do some stitching. What can I do for the evening? I've spent all day on this. Well, I've hopped up quite a few times to do other chores. But I did watch the Alexander movie, the movie about Alexander the Great. Went for 3 hours and 30 minutes. And I pretty much sat down with that after I finished filming with you guys and just worked through it. I took phone calls and did emails and all that in amongst it. But yeah, so it was a lovely little project. Just because I just wanted to get that Sarah style of making the bowl into my memory, because I think it's a really good little project. All right, well, that's probably the last of my Roxy Volume 5 projects, and well and truly probably into Volume 6. So who knows when you'll be seeing this video. It'll just be slid in whenever there's a day that I'm like, oh, let's pop the little bowl in. All right, guys, look after yourselves, and I hope it inspires you to go and make yourself a little bowl of flowers. All right, look, bye.